Elderly care homes are supposed to be calm places. Quiet hallways, warm lights, soft footsteps. But sometimes that silence isn't peaceful. And sometimes it's because something else is listening. Something that never checked in and never checked out. Good evening, fellow creeps. Again, this is a new episode, so welcome. This is Kim, your storyteller. Well, tonight's story happened at a small elderly care house. Let's just say somewhere in Malaysia. I think this is among the first few stories that I've read that came from an elderly care house. What happened? Well, you just have to listen all the way at the end, where at the end I will also put in my personal opinion. Like usual, before we get into our story, please help us like and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get into today's story.
This is Creepy with Coffee.
I used to volunteer at a small elderly care house somewhere in Malaysia. It wasn't a big center, just a long single-story building with 8 rooms, a simple dining hall, and a narrow garden where the residents did their morning walk. The place felt peaceful in a quiet, homely way, the kind of environment people imagine when they think of rest. But peaceful doesn't mean empty. And sometimes I learned it didn't mean safe either. I usually volunteered on weekends. My task was simple. Chat with the residents, read to them, help them eat, and sometimes just sit with them so they wouldn't feel lonely. Out of everyone there, the one I grew closest to was Uncle Rahim. He was in his 70s, but still sharp, still humorous. He loved telling stories about his youth, climbing rambutan trees, fishing by the river, all the typical kampong nostalgia. But he had one habit I found odd. He, Uncle Rahim, refused to eat in the dining hall. Every meal, he insisted on sitting at the far veranda, the one facing an old mango tree at the back of the home. "It's too crowded inside," he would always say. But the dining hall was rarely full. On most days, there were maybe 5-6 residents there. Still, I didn't question him until one particular afternoon. It was a gloomy Sunday. The sky was covered in thick clouds and the wind felt unusually cold. Most residents were napping. Nurses were busy with paperwork. I walked past the dining hall to return a tray when I heard a voice from inside. A woman's voice. Thin, shaky, fragile, like someone elderly who could barely speak. "Can someone help me?" I froze mid-step. The dining hall should have been empty at that time. Slowly, I peeked inside. Every chair was neatly pushed in. No one sat at the tables. The ceiling fan spun lazily. The room was bright enough to see clearly. Empty. But the voice came again, this time softer. "Help me." It came from the corner of the hall, near the curtain that separated the pantry from the main area. I felt a chill run through me. I swallowed, took a hesitant step forward, and suddenly a hand tapped on my shoulder. I flinched violently. It was one of the nurses, Kak Lina. "Why do you look so pale?" she asked. I explained what I heard. She looked into the pantry. Check. Nothing. No resident. No staff. No one. She gave a small laugh, the kind that didn't match her eyes. "Well, this is an elderly home. Sometimes we hear voices of people who aren't here anymore." She said it jokingly, but I felt like she wasn't entirely joking. And that evening, while serving dinner to Uncle Rahim at the veranda, he stared at me for a long moment. "You heard her, didn't you?" My heart dropped. "Who?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. He pointed his chin toward the dining hall. "The lady who sits in the corner, long hair, likes to ask for help." He lowered his voice. "But don't answer her. Whatever you do, don't answer her." I tried to laugh it off. "Uncle, how would you know?" He didn't smile. He just looked at the mango tree, the wind swaying its branches. "Because she has been here long before I came," he whispered, "and she doesn't belong to this home." His tone made the hair on the back of my neck stood up. A week later, the next weekend, after dinner, I was on my way to the storeroom when I passed the dining hall again. This time, there wasn't a shaky whisper. There was a clear, desperate call. "Please help me." I stiffened. My entire body went cold. I walked faster, pretending I didn't hear anything. But the voice grew louder, more urgent. "Why won't you help me?" I spun around and my heart nearly stopped. There was someone standing in the far corner of the hall. A woman, bent slightly forward, thin, with long hair covering most of her face. Her gown looked faded like an old hospital robe. Her skin was grayish, her posture trembling. She lifted her hand slowly, reaching out towards me. "Help me!" That's when I noticed something even more horrifying. All the chairs in the hall, which had been neatly arranged just minutes before, were now pulled out, as if people had been sitting there moments earlier, like the hall had suddenly been full. My legs refused to move, and I blinked, and just like that, she vanished, but not completely. At the spot where she stood was a dark, damp stain on the floor, almost like an outline of a body that had been laying there. I ran straight to the nurse's office, my voice shaking as I explained everything. They searched the hall again. Nothing. It was spotless, dry, chairs neatly in place. Too neat. Before I left that night, I found Uncle Rahim waiting for me at the veranda. "You saw her this time," he said quietly. I said nothing. He nodded slowly. "That's why I never eat inside," he continued. "She likes the dining hall. She likes sitting with the living, but she isn't one of them." I finally found the courage to ask, "Uncle, why does she ask for help?" He sighed, eyes tired. "She doesn't want help," he said. Then he looked me straight in the eyes. "She is looking for replacement." Not long after that, sadly to say, Uncle Rahim passed away. And immediately after that, I also never returned to volunteer at that center. All I wanted to say at the end of the story would be, I hope Uncle Rahim rests in peace. Okay, that is the story for this particular episode. What do I think about this story? There is two things that I think I wanted to mention. One, if let's say we are looking from the angle where Uncle Rahim says she is actually looking for replacement, in Chinese there is a term called 替死鬼. What does it mean? It meant that some certain souls or spirits are stuck in a particular place. And in order for that spirit or the soul to leave, to move on, the soul or the spirit will have to look for somebody to replace that spot. Meaning to say that the thing will keep looking for somebody to take their spot as a replacement. If you are unlucky enough, somehow, let's say you answered whatever call out that you hear, and eventually, or should I say unluckily, you somehow pass away at that very spot. The next person who will be asking for replacement would be you. Now, the other angle that I wanted to mention would be, what if it's just an old lady spirit or soul that is just stuck and needed help? She needed somebody to bring her, let her move on to the next phase. But somehow she couldn't move is because nobody would help her. Every time when somebody heard she called out for help, people would just ran away. In a lot of teaching, aren't we taught that we have to have compassion to all beings? Doesn't matter, it's human, animals, and the souls or spirits included? Well, let me know down below in the comments what do you think about today's story. Once again, I would appreciate it if you could share this story out to people that you think would enjoy this kind of story. Until the next episode, thank you for listening, and for now, good night.